Well, here we are, everybody, returning to Gfriend. Of course, we're kind of coming down the home stretch. This week kind of went by a little bit quick. Of course, these one-week clubs, it always feels like that they do. But I was told that this is one of the more optimal versions of Sunrise, so that's what we're going to be doing. And if you don't know, if you're new here, my name is Aaron, and I try to help you love the music that you already like. And we're going to be doing Sunrise. Let's check it out. Smooth. That was cool. Oh, that was cool. Like, jump scared me. Interesting. Yeah, there's certainly a departure here, isn't there? I think one of the biggest things that I think is going to probably be the talking point of this particular song, if I'm being real, is probably this ending part. If I'm being real, like, that was really smooth throwing in that key change there. So I think that that's actually probably, to me, the part that took me the most by surprise. That's so sick. That's such a smooth key change. I love it. I think a lot of people might mistake it as just kind of like adding intensity or crescendo, but it actually is also, yes, that is true. But the biggest thing is the key change for sure. There's a lot that I feel like also makes up this song in a lot of interesting ways. It starts off kind of more casual, kind of fun, just kind of bouncy, kind of what I was expecting from a Gfriend song. Very casual, and then immediately it just shifts. Needs this whole finesse, and I find it just so interesting to see that shift. Kind of interesting how it switches between the two of those, for sure. And it's interesting too because it is that melancholic feel, it's written in F minor. But the interesting thing is that at the same time, there you still have a little bit of that old Gfriend feel inside of it. That to me always just has that underlying hope in it, a little bit of a sense, like an underlying positive moment. But it's pretty different for Gfriend, especially. The choreography on this is actually very slick as well. Lots of quick adjustments to be able to kind of move the next person into place to give this a kind of a bit of almost like I don't know, it's just a really interesting act. Something that you don't see too often. And I appreciate the fact that when they were doing those transitions, they were smooth, they were quick, and it really is almost like magic in a lot of ways. It really takes you through and just, gives you some really cool ideas. I don't know. It's a really interesting choreography. Honestly, probably in a sense, one of the more unique ones. Like you could probably even put that up there with, some of the bigger ones. Maybe not quite like up there with Rough, but I think it definitely probably outpaces most of the other choreographies in a lot of ways. So that's kind of been kept, Like it's those transitions, those quick transitions, the arm movements, the changing, I don't know, it's really interesting. Still very much stayed a formation group. It's a little bit more showy than a lot of their stuff is generally very complex and very well composed. But this feels a little bit more on a showy side of things for their choreography, I feel anyway. Okay, next we are moving on to Crossroads. Let's check it out. I hate that feeling. Interesting.
펼쳐지는 singing star 너에게 들려줄까 시간이 끊어지니 길에 서 있어 아직 믿어지지 않아 나 아니랬던 거야 똑같이 바라봤는데 똑같이 헤맸는데 왜 내 맘이 다 무너져 버릴까 저 바람마저 널 아직 기다리면서 있어 들리는
Definitely has a return to that signature sound.
아직 모든 게 너로 가득해 아직 어디도 못 가겠어 몹시 빠르게 지나쳐도 내가 널 찾을게 그때 다시 너에게로 펼쳐지는 singing star 너에게 들려줄까 부서지는 shining star 너에게도 보일까 어쩌면 이 노래가 날
This is a really interesting structure.
침착해 아니 침착해 난 아무것도 몰라 그리워하다 여전히 이곳에 멈춰있어 나 세상 맴돌기만 해 소송이다 아직 모든 게 너로 가득해 아직 어디도 못 가겠어 몹시 빠르게 지나쳐도 내가 널 찾을게 그때 다시 너에게로 눈은 어디쯤에 가 있는 걸까 To the sky 어떤 길을 가도 다 너로 변해가
Wild.
언젠가는 알게 될 거야 빛이 따라서 날려갈게 널 기억할게 그때 다시 너에게로 펼쳐진 singing star 너에게 들려줄까 부서지는 shining star 너에게도 보일까
Was that it? Oh. Huh. What a, well, bit of a roller coaster, actually. I think to me, the thing that I find most interesting is the fact that this feels kind of like, oh, what's the name of the song? Time for the Moon Night. It kind of sounds like the sequel to that song in a lot of ways, but maybe with even still probably less and less of that. I would say Innocence is kind of taking out every single time we get a song like this.
침착해 아니 침착해
It's almost, if that's the case, does that mean that this song is kind of more like a kind of like a coming of age kind of song? A bitter, sad realization coming of age song. Melancholic.
아무것도 몰라
Melancholic, which seems to be very much the bonus and key words surrounding this particular era.
그리워하다 여전히 이곳에 멈춰있어 나 세상 맴돌기만 해 소송이다 아직
The thing that I find so interesting too is that there's the last song, the big feature was the key change, where this one's like with the key changes, it's really strange. It's just bing, 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 bing. and back to the normal key and then change and then back and then, changes keys a lot.
어떻게 너로 갈게 아직 어디도 못 가겠어
Yeah, and that feeling of the sequel of to the Time for the Moon Night as well. That's really strange. I like when songs have sequels. It always makes me a little bit worried because like how are you gonna keep up and have a quality song? But like, hey, look, I think that this is a very good possibility that this is just as good. Hmm. We need at least one or two of these. Very cool. This time we're doing Eclipse.
가고 있어 널 만나러 지금이 아니면 안 될 것 같아 다른 것 같아 조금만 기다려줘 내가 갈게
Okay.
요즘 들어 많이 이상해 난네 생각들로 눈물이 나 내게 뱉은 날 선말들이 오히려 날 향해 돌아오나 봐 변해진 감정들이 짓궂게 심술 부려 널 데려가 너무 늦지 않게 내게 말할게 미안해 지금 어디야 할 말이 있어 가고 있어 널 만나러 지금이 아니면 안 될 것 같아 하는 것 같아 조금만 기다려줘 내가 갈게 어둠 속에서 우리 둘만 빛나게 너의 따뜻한 그 빛을 머금고 싶어 멀리 돌아온 기적 같은 순간을 놓치지 않아 널 품에 안을게 한동안 네가 없던 날들 영원처럼 나에겐 느껴져 난 두려워 갈 곳을 잃어버린 아이처럼 너를 찾아 헤매고 있었나 봐 변해진 감정들이 짓궂게 심술 부려 널 데려가 너무 늦지 않게 내게 말할게 미안해 지금 어디야 할 말이 있어 가고 있어 널 만나러 지금이 아니면 안 될 것 같아 하는 것 같아 조금만 기다려줘 내가 갈게 어둠 속에서 우리 둘만 빛나게 너의 따뜻한 그 빛을 머금고 싶어 멀리 돌아온 기적 같은 순간을 놓치지 않아 널 품에 안을게 길었던 기다림 두려웠던 마음도 서로의 온기가 닿은 순간에 모두 녹아내리게 가고 있어 널 만나러 지금이 아니면 안 될 것 같아 다가온 것 같아 조금만 기다려줘 내가 기다릴게 어둠 속에서 우리 둘만 빛나게 너의 따뜻한 그 빛을 머금고 싶어 멀리 돌아온 기적 같은 순간을 놓치지 않아 널 품에 안을게
I have to admit, like, I feel like, especially with this song, I am very much impressed with their commitment to kind of staying with a sound. You know what I'm saying? I find it impressive at that type of dedication because, I mean, a lot of times with a lot of groups, they keep their sound for decades. And one thing that I always find kind of interesting, kind of within K-pop, is that's not so true. Like, I mean, I can list off groups that just kind of always have a certain sound, Iron Maiden, Ghost, Metallica, Creed, groups like that, who keep a hold of that song or that sound in their music for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you know? And I find it interesting because to me, that's kind of what Gfriend has kind of done. No matter what the concept is, because a lot of times, a group will get a new concept and bingo, bingo, we get a new sound. So, like, I think one of the biggest examples of that is how people say how much Itzy has changed. And I'm kind of always curious by that because I think that, actually, personally, I actually think it's for the better. But I think it's kind of cool to see a group that I kind of consider these groups to be kind of like legacy groups, right? These legacy groups have a legacy sound. And I appreciate that fact actually quite a lot. I think that this is something that a lot of times I think is a weakness for K-pop, where a lot of times the sound changes, like from comeback to comeback to comeback to comeback. And I've said this a lot, like a lot of times I feel like that this whole genre a lot of times is just kind of move on, like there's no time to sit there and think about the past. Like, it's like, oh, move on. This group already had a comeback, now you got to move on to the next comeback. Oh, this group had their first comeback and now they're moving on to their second one, and we've got to make sure that they change it. And I find it interesting because I think a couple of groups that remind me of that is Illit or Islet, I don't know how that's pronounced, and Le Seraphim. I mean, it's like each comeback feels like a new group almost because of just how much they changed the sound. So I'm actually kind of more than ever, I'm digging the fact that there's a sound and that identity being kept. See, it just has that kind of still. The thing that I think is a little bit different, though, if I'm being real, is I feel like that with Gfriend, well, it is still kind of interesting because there is a difference in sound, and there is kind of a difference of like what they're trying to have the girls portray, and in a sense, it does feel like that they are trying to kind of move them away from a signature sound in a lot of senses. In some ways, in some areas, even if it doesn't lose the identity. I don't know. It's really hard to explain. It's like they're trying to keep them to like making sure that everybody's like, oh no, it's still Gfriend, but it's like trying to kind of push them into a different direction. I don't know if that makes sense, but I appreciate the fact that they keep that sound, and that every single time we think to ourselves, okay, we're going to be getting something different from them, they kind of keep that signature sound, but then kind of like paint it with a new coat of paint of like, now it's a spooky one, now it's a melancholic one, and now it's a cute one, and now it's an innocent one. But in a sense, it's interesting that they do that, and then they just like, we're going to kind of slowly push this imagery onto them and onto their music. But I don't know if I'm making sense. It's just my ramblings of my brain. But that's kind of my first thought, was like, oh wow, it still sounds like Gfriend, but it's like, then you listen to it, you're like, but, I don't know. It's a really almost uncanny valley kind of feel. And last but not least, to end the day off on, we are doing Apple. And I think this might be the time we might be stepping into pure new territory. I don't know. Let's check it out. It looks different. Why are you staring at me like that? Huh.
내리네 반짝이는 crystal 차가워 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 어느새 입술은 새빨간 널 담아내 Come and dance with me 뜨거운 춤을 춘다 내 안에 별이 뜬다 투명한 you 이곳을 붉게 빛나 뒤를 돌아보지 마 불안한 생각은 나 달콤한 두 발의 마녀들의 밤이 와
Guess I spoke too soon. Huh. Okay. That's wild. Oh, I feel conflicted. So here's kind of why I feel conflicted, right? This is very different from everything that we've heard from Gfriend. And I really, really like the sound. And in fact, I kind of, in a lot of senses, prefer this type of more intense dark imagery. However, how do I say this? Making them kind of have like this type of more of a mature topic and feel is, to me, kind of like, imagine if this kind of concept was applied to Twice, because I feel like that even though the second phase had some more melancholic, darker themes, they still maintained that innocence era kind of part of it, right? And when you listen to like all the first era, that's like really kind of cutesy and girly and, have that kind of feel. And you know what I mean when I say that kind of feel. Then you get to here, and it's like, yeah, musically speaking, this works. This is awesome. But this is not the kind of concept that you would immediately associate with Gfriend, right? So it's like, in a lot of ways, I think of Gfriend in some ways kind of like a Twice group, where it's like the majority of their career was them being, more that innocent girly pop. and now we have this like really high intense like dark stuff, I guess in a sense you could say this is kind of their version of like um maybe like Cry for Me or something like that. I don't know, but it's really good, but it's really really weird to hear Gfriend in this kind of like capacity. Because like even if you think it sounds like Navalera or the Tonight for the Moon Night or whatever that song is called, like it still has that like kind of synth pop, girly pop feel behind having like a little bit more of a darker theme. This is just like all that's gone. I don't know. It's gonna take me a minute to get used to that. But see, like at the same time, I'm like, this is phenomenal. The dramatic feel behind it, the bass coupled with the percussion, giving this like really dark and intense, just kind of like injection. I don't know. It's strange, isn't it? I'm gonna need y'all. I'm gonna need y'all's opinion on this, because I feel conflicted because again I feel like I shouldn't like this because this doesn't sound like Gfriend, but at the same time too I'm like, okay, yes, I like this a lot. Very conflicting, very very conflicting. So anyway, let me know what y'all think. We'll discuss this down in the comments below. Thank you and goodbye.